Ayubowan, Namaste and good day to everyone. I'm Shanika Nadishani, the head teacher of Shine Towards Free School in Polonnaru, Sri Lanka. Your host for today's program on behalf of the International Association for Quality Education. The International Association for Quality Education is a non-profit international organization working with educators across the globe to enhance the quality of education and contribute to achieving the sustainable development goals. The International Conference on Quality Education will be held in Mumbai, India from August 10 to 15, 2025. The conference is organized with the support of the Peace Welfare Foundation in Mumbai, along the many universities, institutes, and schools from India and other countries. Parallel to the conference, we are conducting a lecture series aimed at building the capacity of teachers, educators, and communities. Today also we have a very special speaker. Before she met us through the classroom, that management lesson, it was a very valuable lesson, ma'am, for us. But before I introduce today's speaker, I would like to warmly welcome Dr. Rashmi Tyagi, ma'am, to this virtual platform on behalf of the International Association for Culture Education. Dr. Rashmi Tyagi, ma'am, is a well-known educator, then leader in India. In fact, her reputation extends beyond India to many South Asian countries, especially in Sri Lanka, ma'am, that where she is highly respected for her tremendous leadership and advancing educational quality across the region. Namaste, ma'am. Right? Then I invite you to introduce today's speaker, but before that, I would love to hear a few words from you, then perhaps even about the upcoming conference. Then I eagerly visit that. Then since Mumbai in your hometown, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shanika, and blessings to all the teachers. Teachers are great. So this word I am just taking with lot of respect and love. And it is such a beautiful evening when all of us are there for the quest of knowledge. And when the knowledge, Gyan, we call it Gyan, when it is given to others, then that act is a super act, that the knowledge which you are gaining you are distributing to the students and to the whole world. And as in Sri Lanka, in India also, Gautam Buddha, he is worshipped a lot for giving us that kind of knowledge, the gyan which he has achieved under a tree. And I had gone to that place where he had acquired that great knowledge. So we are not having that much knowledge, but inspired by his blessings, we find that it is our duty to give this knowledge to the whole world. And so all of us are here, and it is not that only the person who is talking on the, for giving you the training, but the whole, all of us are together. People are gaining knowledge and somebody is distributing the knowledge, means we are sharing the knowledge. So it is a meeting. It is like, just, sharing the knowledge. So I just expect from you people that you can also ask questions, and then it becomes more interactive. And again, excuse me, we have got Dipti Tyagi today to just talk to you. So here I just tell her to start her lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rashmi ma'am, and thank you so much, Shanika ma'am. Rashmi ma'am, I am indebted to you because you are the one that who has provided me that beautiful platform. And thank you everyone for accepting me in one among this beautiful member, and and just assigning me a very beautiful purpose of imparting the education, because this is how that we can create the platform wherein we can share and we can care. So today, what we are going to do is, let me share with it. We are just going to talk about the effective communication. When I say effective communication, it means that I'm talking about the very four part which are fundamental to the communication. So let me share it. I hope that that PPT is quite clear to each one of us. Is it visible to everyone?
Yeah,
Yes,
ma'am, it's
yes,
visible.
ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Just a second. So
Yes.
yes, so we are just going to talk about the language. When I say language, right, I mean English language, because nowadays there are no two facts about this. Like English has become the international language, because that we all are living into the different parts of the world, so we have our own language, right? And we all love our languages as well. But still, we need a kind of one, international language which could be understood, which could be spoken by everyone, so that we can create a platform. So just speaking cannot be considered language, right? That how beautifully that we are expressing our views, how beautifully we are understanding others, that makes the difference. And when we say beautiful, it means that we have to beautify, our language. So today we are going to talk about, right, the four parts of our language, right? So the other day I also told you the listening, speaking, and reading and writing. Bro, these are very fundamental, and that being the human, right? We understand that language is our right. Yes, it does it does denote a right, but still, just to beautify that language, wherein we need to work on certain skills. So nowadays language has become a skills. Just speaking will not serve our purpose, but how beautifully, how skillfully that we are speaking, that makes the matter important. So listening, speaking, and reading, we are just going to talk about, and we are just going to talk about these four skills to the English language, because if we'll talk about our native language, we are quite good at it. But when we say that English language, it means that we all are struggling with a kind of a hesitation, or maybe we are just fumbling for the words, and sometimes we fumble for the right exact words and right exact sentences, right? And because this is the acquired language, and when we acquire something, it means we have to put a little bit extra effort to it. So English has become an acquired language to us. So here I'll be telling you that there are certain strategies, there are certain ways how which we could improve our these four skills. So let's start with the listening skills. When I say listening, what do we understand? Hearing? No, listening and hearing both are different, right? Because when we hear, we just simply, we are blessed one, right, to have ears. Biologically, that we have ears, and this is how the ears are pertain to listening only, and we are listening. So there is no big deal. But when I say listening, it means it has become much more active hearing. So let's first understand the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is just simply getting the sounds through the hearing organs, that we have ears, and just we are getting the sounds. We are just getting the commotion around us. So that is hearing. We cannot avoid it. But when we say listening, it means that whatever we are listening, we are processing through our mind. It means the example is the kind of workshop that we are engaged with. It means that we are focusing to each other. Whenever somebody says something, we are just focusing our attention to that, and we are understanding it. It means that we are not just doing hearing, we are just doing listening. So passive activity. Hearing is under. See, why I'm telling all of these things, because further you have to communicate, you have to replicate the same to the student as well, that you have to make them understand there is a fundamental differences between hearing and listening. So you should not do the hearing only, because hearing will happen automatically. You need not to put extra effort to it. But when we say listening, it means here you have to pay a little bit attention. Here you have to be a little bit active to it. So hearing is a passive activity. It will happen automatically. But when we say listening, it involves active listening, active language process, right? In hearing, comprehension not required. Okay, if anything is happening, right, my ears are processing it. But when I say listening, it means that comprehension, whatever the other person is saying, my mind has to grasp that. So processing is not required in hearing, but in listening, processing is required, understanding is required, comprehension is required, feedback is important, because until unless that we understand something, we won't be able to give the feedback further, right? Unintentional hearing is unintentional. Suppose that you're going through somewhere and suddenly somebody sings something, whether you want it or you don't want it, but you are bound to hear it. But when you just try to recognize the lyrics of that particular song, this it means now your hearing has been converted into listening. It has become an active way. So these kind of subtle difference that you have to provide to the students, that what is the difference between hearing and listening. So it means try and focus onto the listening skills more. Ability to recognize the sound, but ability to understand the relationship between words and sentences. Because you see, if I'll say an apple, right? Okay, apple. But until unless that say I say apple is healthy for our health, right? And you won't be able to bring the relation between healthy and health. You won't be able to understand the meaning of it. So here, and the meaning will come through the listening only, because you have listened to the health. What does health stand for? You have listened to the meaning of word beneficial, that what does beneficial stand for. So this is how that you will bring the synthesis between the sounds and the meaning. So this way, this slide is very important, right? If you want that, I will share it further after the session as well. Please try and make the students aware that hearing and listening both are two different activities. Now let's talk about the power of listening, right? I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything if I am not going to listen to the other. Because it's a kind of a very popular cliche that when we speak, we know only one perspective, but when we listen, we know many more. So it means listening is till now the most underrated activity, and but that is the basis of the communication. If we are good at listening, it means that we are equally good at expressing ourselves. If we are equally good at comprehension, we are good at sound base, right? Sound platform. We won't be able to build the rest of the activities. So listening is the cornerstone of effective communication and collaboration. While we spend most of our waking hours communicating, that is how nowadays the people are focusing much attention on meditation, right? Why we say now that you will have that question ki one hand Preeti ma'am is saying that listening, and other hand that she's saying meditation, wherein that we just all become quiet. Yes, exactly, I mean it. Meditation means that we are enhancing the capacity of our listening skill, right? And because what happens when we listen, we introspect, we retrospect, we just construct the thought process in our mind is always at work. If we will listen to it, we will be able to weigh the pros and the cons of something, or so now we, since we have got to know the difference between the hearing and listening, and we also got to understand the importance of listening skills, right? So again, this slide is always very, very dear to me, because until unless that we have that vision and mission, right, the way our organization has a mission, right, that the learning has to be imparted to everyone. It cannot be considered the copyright of anyone, but rather it is to be imparted to every student and every teacher as well. So we have certain objectives. So our objective is that we have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. If I say that we all are teachers, so yes, we know so much, right? That is how that we ended up being a teacher. But until unless that we have that flexibility to learn, but unlearn ourselves, right? We need to, assume that we don't know anything, right? And then whenever somebody is saying that we are just learning out of it, it means that relearn. So learn, unlearn, and relearn. These are the three phrases that which are to be included into our objectives. Yes, today my mindset is that I am going to learn something by keeping aside my previous knowledge. Strategies, like we will be talking about that, what should what kind of strategies that we are employing to make the skill feasible and easy for our student and for us as well. Action plans, that when we are combining all of these, so that is going to be action plans which has strategies, which has objectives, which has a mission, and which certainly has a vision, right? So now, okay, now what is active listening? When I say listening, so listening has a further bifurcation which is called active listening. And what are the components that make active listening? First of all, paying attention. That whenever we start paying attention, it means that we have started, being actively involved into listening. So the first step, you may have that chart into your classroom wherein that you can put that first number. First is paying attention, right? Whenever we are focusfully, right, we are completely focused onto the speaker, minimizing the distraction. For an example, right, we all are here in this meeting, right? So we are not using our mobile phones further. So it means that we have cut upon the distraction. We are not listening to the family member. We are not just doing any household chores. So that is the first step. Yes, that we are all set to pay attention. Now the understanding. You are paying attention. So undoubtedly, understanding is the byproduct of it. It means if your mind is into something, so you will start understanding what is the purpose, why the speaker is saying so, what is the message, right? What are the underlying emotions, right? So in that way, we will understand it. Responding. If our understanding is clear, so we may ask the question. If the questions are asked from us, we may answer them. So responding is another the result of that active listening. So we would be able to, generally you might have come across many a times into your class wherein that you ask a question from a student and the student is unable to respond, and we end up saying, okay, it means that you were not involved into the class. Yes, he was not involved into the class. He was just simply hearing, not listening, right? So because listening involves attention, understanding, responding, and remembering as well. It's not all about that today only you will remember that whatever I am saying, tomorrow you will forget. No, if your mind was attentive, you have understood, you have responded to every question and every question which I produce in front of you. So it means that now that you have practiced upon all of these things and you can further remember them, right? So that these are the part of active listening. Now active listening, we have already talked about that, wherein that we are focused, we have understood the concept, right? We have remembered the theme, and we have remembered the basis upon it, and we can respond well. So these are part of active listening. This slide is very, very important, and quite very, very fundamental in today's scenario, because nowadays that we have understood, okay, listening is something that wherein the mind is attentive to. No, it has many more variable, it has many more variation to it. If I'll say empathetic listening, empathetic listening, it means here I'm just urging people to be empathetic, understanding and sharing the speaker's feeling and perspective. Now, very, very beautiful, definition to it. Because why I am saying so empathetic listening? Because when we are empathetic to something, it means here we can introspect and retrospect. We can, weigh the pros and cons on something which has been said. We will not simply jump onto the conclusion whether the person was wrong or whether he was correct, right? No, we will understand. Like many a time it happens that, you know we can mind the way something is said to us, but we don't understand the intent behind it, right? Why the person is saying so? Because we have not worked upon the empathetic listening. We have simply worked upon the attentive listening, right? So empathetic listening is wherein we are judging the emotions of that person. Why? If something is said, why it has been said? What were the emotions behind it? Whether the person was sad, whether the person was stressed, or that he might have not meant to it the way the things were said. The example is the parents, right? We generally perceive them that they are being very nagging. Yes, they are nagging, but if you'll pay attention to the empathetic listening, you will find the answer why they are being nagging. Because they want good for you, and whatever you are doing, it is not matching to the requirements of the society. So that is why they, you know, they'll sound a bit grumpy to you. So here we need to understand, right? We need to make the child understand. Active listening is the another part, but empathetic listening is definitely a different perspective of listening, right? Am I making sense, Rashmi ma'am? Okay, I guess now let's move to critical listening. Now, what is that critical listening? Okay, Preeti ma'am is saying active listening, empathetic listening, critical listening. Suppose like for an example, this meeting is the very much the example of a critical listening, because we are evaluating the information. The few seconds back that I have asked, the acknowledgement from Rashmi ma'am, that how is that, would she be able to make sense with that? Or like, this is the example of critical listening. It means that whatever information that we are gathering, we are just gathering objectively, purposefully, identifying the strength and weakness, that whatever the speaker is saying, how far that is how far is that true? What are the challenges that if I'll adopt the same strategy, what are the challenges that I'm going to have? What are the benefits that I'm going to have further? So when you do that critical analysis, that comes under the critical listening. Okay, the speaker has talked about 10 strategy, but I think depending upon my situation, depending upon the needs, I could employ only 5 strategy, because this 5 strategy would not work the kind of work atmosphere I am into, the kind of children that I'm dealing with, right? So when you just do that kind of a cross examinations to yourself, so that is the part of critical listening, right? You analyze the information, fact checking, how important is this, how irrelevant is this, right? What are the benefits? Is that an obsolete strategy, or it is something up to date? It is something which will definitely work into the synchronization of the modus operandi of the world. So when you will do such kind of a questioning, so that is the part of a critical listening. When you'll ask the children, okay, now this is the question, I want each one of you to do the critical listening to it, right? And after that, ask your questions from the students. Okay, now find out, bring me your analysis, right? That is a part of a critical listening. Now, what are the analysis, right? What are the hypotheses that you have created out of that listening? Okay, so now appreciative listening. When you are just simply listening the people out of enjoyment and out of fun, right? Example, when we listen to the music, most of the time that we are hardly bothered about the lyrics. We just simply love the tune, we just simply love the rhyme, and just we just simply love the kind of aura that song produces. So that is appreciative listening, right? So enjoyment of sound, most of the time, we just simply listen to the sound without lyrics. That is the part of appreciative listening. Now, why I'm putting so much focus on this particular slide, because that could be an assignment for your kids. And irrespective of the age differences, that you can employ that slide into the playway, you can employ into the primary school as well, senior and the the second senior secondary classes as well, 11th and 12th, and even to the every part of their academic uh, journey. You can, why, read something to them, right? Give them the assignment. Okay, I have read something to you, now give me the empathetic listening. Just try and find out the emotions of the speaker. Now the children will come up, okay ma'am, the emotion, that the kind of emotions that I could diagnose, the speaker was very optimistic. That is why that he talked about everything positive. Okay, that's very good. What are the other emotions that you have found? uh, Energetic, yes. uh, the emotion, the speaker was kind of a caregiver. Yes, very well. So that is how they will come up with new words. That is how they will come up with the new emotions themselves. So now, critical listening. Okay, I have read something to you, now provide me five different critical sentences out of it. Now they will, okay ma'am, the speaker was talking about the benefits of taking the science streams. Simultaneously, she also talked about the benefits of the humanities. Now, if I compare the options, associated with both the streams, this is my analysis, right? So that is how they, we are just working on their capacity building, your skill building skills. Appreciative listening. Okay, now that you have arranged a kind of fun show to your students, right? And generally what happens, they are, as soon as they are done with it, they are back to their classes. Okay, they enjoyed that particular moment. No, we have to ask, what have they understood? Like, how have they felt when they were watching this, when they were listening that? How have they felt? Were they happy? Were they stressed? Right? So when you talk about, right, how have they felt, they will again come up with their own narratives to it. It means that we have worked on their narrative building capacity, we have worked on their skills. So that is how in the beginning itself that I said it, that listening is considered the most underrated skill till now. But if we'll take a deep dive into it, we will understand undoubtedly this is one of the most efficient skills of the communication, right behavior. So now let's move to, like, how can we work on our listening skills? How can we hone our listening skills? Right, active listening, when purposefully we are listening to something, and we have to construct our minds, we have to condition our mind into that way, that I have to understand whatever he is saying. For an example, podcast, right? You are just asking your student, right, ki, okay, so and so podcast has to be listened to, has to be watched by you. So now what have you understood? So now their mindset is already conditioned that this is something will be asked by our teacher tomorrow. It means until unless that I'll put my attention, until unless that I put my brain to it, I won't be able to respond. So undoubtedly they had worked on varied content. Sometime they will have to listen to the lecture series, sometime they will have to listen to the podcast, audiobooks. Because why I'm saying, in each kind of the content, every content has a different tone and intonation, rhyme and rhythm, right? For an example, if I'll say the lecture, so lecture just works on the very simpler tone, right? It has the same tone, right? But when I say the podcast is all about the journey of a person. So sometime it could be about failure, sometime it could be about successes, sometime it could be it could be about challenges. So whenever the person will talk about the successes, right, he or she will have that smile, that pleasant expressions. So it means the expressions are changed, so understanding, the brain functioning will automatically be changed. But if the person will talk about the failure, the expression verbal and non-verbal, both sort of a communication will dip down. So that way, the kind of the physical challenges we provide to a student, that sometime they have to jump on one brick, and now that there are two bricks, now that he has to jump onto these two bricks. So there we need to provide the varied challenges to it, and varied challenges will come through sometime the lecture series, sometime the podcast, sometime the audio books, sometime the fun books, sometime the kind of the shady stories as well. So this will, right, the brain will function differently, and automatically the brain will be in habit of functioning that way. Empathy building, right? Empathy building is, again, as I told you in the previous slide, empathetic listening, right, wherein that we are working to understand the emotions behind the narrative. We are just simply not focusing on the narrative, but we will understand the emotion. Why it is very important in today's world? Because nowadays we are so quick at reacting, right? And which is has become the reason of the road rage and violences around us, that we don't want to listen to the other person. We are quick at responding to him, right? And when we are so quick at responding to the person, it means that we are messing with the information. We don't understand that what was the truth. We just simply want to see what was seen to us. So that way, empathetic listening is very very important. So unless that we'll put the attention to empathetic listening, our children won't understand the need of it. They will not understand that how it is completely different from the listening. Okay, so pay attention, show that you are listening, right? It's not about that you have ears and that you are bound to listen. You are saying to the other person, okay, I'm well attentive to this seminar. I'm very well attentive to the class. No, until unless that you show your non-verbal communication through the nodding, eye contact, gesture, your hand movement, the way you standing, right? The other person will not get the feel that you are actively involved into it, and provide feedback. Because the feedback can only be provided if you have understood, if you have listened, right? Defer judgment. Now what does that defer? Please underline this, and you, if you feel like that, you can write it. Defer judgment. Avoid interrupting or forming opinion too soon. The way I said it, right? Empathetic listening. Do not fall for the quick judgment of the people or the things. Now we are in this habit of forming the judgments. Not at all, right? Until unless that you have that clarity, because most of the time it happens that, for an example, first sentence seems so hostile to it, but when we understand, sometimes the good, the bads are good, right? It is good to be bad. The parents are always good to be bad, because we have understood their intention. But we don't want to understand it from our neighbors, from our friends. That is why that whenever our friends, our neighbors, or any other unknown person tries to give us that learning, we just simply offend. We don't want to listen to it, and we simply end up saying, who is he, right? What right has he got to tell me anything? Because here we start deferring judgment. We start making the judgment that this person has nothing to do with me to impart that learning, right? So it means, please try and avoid interrupting and forming judgment too soon. Because if we'll study the Japanese education system, right? You'll understand it till fifth class. They don't have that exam system, assessment system. What they have that practical learning only, right? For an example, I would like to discuss here a video which I have watched, right? They were the students in the class, very junior students, and some was you know impersonating as an old woman, some was impersonating as a pregnant, right? Some was impersonating as a ill person, some was impersonating the wounded one, some was impersonating the child one, right? And a train was built, a bus was built, and it was shown as if they are trying to get into that bus. So now, and there are rest of the students, they were made to sit in that bus already. So now, right, whenever the other person that who was seated in the bus, he saw the elderly men or woman coming up, he just got up from his seat to offer that seat to that person. So it means they have learned the value of helping. When they have seen that a pregnant lady was coming up and she's standing, so one of them was stood up and he offered that seat to that pregnant lady. So now these very small children, they have understood, right, that these are the part of helping others. If they will see an old person, old woman, old man, a pregnant lady, wounded person, and the ill person, diseased person, they will have to get up. So these kind of teachings are so well inculcated in them, that they will never forget it. For another example, I would like to quote it here, right? They are not allowed to bring anything apart from the food, fruits and the food, homemade food, right? They are not allowed to bring the chips and the coca colas and etc., right, the fast food into the school. So in that way, right, each of them, right, in Japan they don't like the fast food, in fact they like fruits, home cooked food, right? But in India as well, if we'll say to our child, okay, just eat this, they'll not eat it. They, oh no, I don't like that food, because we have not made them to understand the importance of the fruits and the home cooked food. So here, so these, just let them know the difference between all of these, right? And respond appropriately. Now just have a look on this slide, right? There is one teacher, and teacher is reading to the children, to the students. Now how would we get to know they are listening or they are hearing? Yes, because I gave that 1 second to each one of you so that you can introspect, right? You can, self respond. They are listening. And how do I know that they are listening? Because you can see those bubbles around them. And in those bubbles, there is a content written. Like for an example, I can play, Simone says, I can do action to a story or a poem as I hear it. It means that whatever ma'am is reading to them, right, the person is talking about that, yes, I can do that. He started making analyze, he started analyzing this, what I am going to do it once the ma'am is done with that story. I can act out the meaning of sentence, that now this a child is working on this. So just look at the bubbles here, right? Every bubble has some content written into it. It means they are listening. That is how they are processing that information, right? They were attentive enough. That is how they are coming up their own narratives to it. Okay, so I hope that listening part is very much clear to each one of us. When we are just talking about the importance of listening, we are not including the hearing. Hearing happens automatically. Listening, you have to talk about these part of the listening to the children, these part of the listening to the children, and bifurcate it, and one day teach them that today we are going to do the active listening, tomorrow empathetic listening, critical listening, and appreciative listening. So these are the parts which will beautify our language. When we'll understand the person for the meaning, when we will understand the person for the emotion, when we will understand the person for fun, this is how they will bifurcate it. So now let's move to the reading part. When I say reading, yeah, this is a kind of a very common complaint that we are getting from the parents, that our child does not read, right? No matter that how many times that we motivate our child to read, because reading is definitely undoubtedly one of the best exercises, right? It happens everywhere. We are also receiving these complaints now. How could we work upon it? Because ultimately, as I said into my previous class, that previous webinar, that we cannot sit by thinking that we cannot do anything. In that way we can do, and we will do, right? So just ask them to read the summary, right? Do not ask them to read the book, because whenever they will have that book right before them, right, they'll feel not interested, right? So give them, okay, you don't want to read the book, don't read it, fine, but I want a story out of that book. You just google it out, right? Get to have a summary to it. So once they will understand the summary, most of the time it will happen that summary will force them to be interested in reading that book. Something is always better than nothing. So by saying, okay, you have to read the book, and they'll become uninterested, so we are just demotivating them to read a book. Don't say, if you don't want to read a book, don't read it, at least give me that summary. So many a time, and it happened, right, I practiced it, and it happened, they will end up being interested, right, in reading the books. So once they will read it, they will understand the value. One book or two books are enough to make them interested, to make them being a lover, right? So just have that quote, show me a family of readers and I will show you the people who actually move the world. Napoleon, right? Actually, because when you are a reader, you are not reader of the alphabets, you are not the reader of letter, but you are the reader of people. You are the reader of society. You are the reader of narrative. You are the reader of that universe, right? So that will automatically boost your cognitive skill, cognitive power. And once your cognitive power is developed, everything is developed. So in that way, because what are the benefits? First of all, we need to make our child understand what are the benefits of a good reader. Good reader will come up with so many strategies. Maybe in one book the strategy is just like that, in another book the strategy is just like. So whenever they'll find the utility of that particular strategy, they'll employ that strategy, right? Because one problem, different variation, different perspective. And how are we going to connect with those different perspective? When we read, we come into the contact of these book written by different people. We hardly know them by their faces, we hardly know them by their countries, right? We hardly know them, right? But what we know their perspective, we know their understanding. So we are just knowing through their understanding. So they'll become practical, and they will actually end up being the global citizen because they read, right? So just give them the practice. You need not to spend hours onto it. Just spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, right? And this way you will understand the importance. Because you know what happens when we read, so all the parts, all the cognitive parts of our body start working. How? When we read, we start envisioning the things, right? Suppose, for an example, that we are reading about a story of a boy that who was never interested in the studies. So now you will start making the image of a boy who was not interested. It means that your eyes are working, right? Your symbolic power is working, right? And you will start understanding the emotions. So it means your empathetic listening and the speakings both are worked upon. So this way, reading is just not simply wherein we are not opening up our lips and we are just simply having that books and we are lying down on our bed. No, these are the wrong concept. It means when we are reading, that we are actually working on our five senses. Many a time it happens that when we read, suddenly that we feel that sensation, that whatever is written in that book, if it's all about the chilling murder, that we feel that chill, if it's all about the parental love that we feel, that either we end up being all smiling, so that way it means that we are working on all sort of emotions. So that way, if you make the student understand that read is not holding the books. Okay, do not hold the books. Okay, okay, just tell me one paragraph, okay, which you found interested. So they'll flip the pages, and when they will flip the pages, ultimately their eyes will fell onto something, and they will grab it and they'll understand it. Because what I believe if we'll start taking care of the small thing, big thing will fall into the place. I never start with the big agendas. I start with the small agendas. Read a book, don't read it, read summary, right? Do not want to read summary, don't read it, read about characters. Because once they will understand the character, they will understand that what particular character is all about, what was his role into the story, and in that way also they will get into this reading. Now writing, because I was also grappling with this problem up to few months, right? And then I read one book, and I would like to quote that book as well. Get the Epic Shit Done, that is written by Ankur Wariku. And in that book, one very important, and I would say one very useful advice was written. And what was it? I'll be telling you. Writing skill. Now again, this is the another problem, that children don't have a very good writing skill. They write it the way, okay, this is a past tense, this is a present, I will go to the market, right? So that way they don't know that tomorrow I thought of going to the market, and many a time that I felt it that no, I shouldn't go there because it's a quite windy outside. They do not understand that how to frame the scene, how to make the situation reliable, right? And that is how they don't write good stories, that is how they don't write good reports. Because they only, they are made to understand only the importance of the tenses, but they are not made to understand the importance of situation building. And how does situation building happen? When we read, and when we read in that way, and when we don't apply the strategy which I'm going to discuss it. Most of the time it used to happen to me as well, that whenever I thought of writing something, right, I couldn't write it. I generally, I wrote one pages and I thought, oh no, I don't feel like writing it, right? And this way, I was never improved. But in that book, the strategy was just like that, right? Whatever you are writing, irrespective of the word limits, whether you are writing 100 words, 150 or 1,000 words, right? Always and always provide an end to it. How? For an example, I'm talking about a story of a king. Yeah, in a funny way, right? A king used to have four queens, and they all were so quarrelsome to each other that they kept on fighting. One day, the king was so frustrated that he thought of leaving his palace. Now I'm stuck to that place. Now, what would I do? I'm not coming up with any more, imagination. What imagination would I be putting to it? But this is the mistake we do it. We just leave that story just like that. Don't leave it. Add one more line to it. And how? Where did I leave it? I left it that wherein the king thought of leaving his palace. Okay. Now provide an end. The king went to the forest, and he ended up being a saint. When he ended up being a saint, right? Nothing, yeah, no emotion could impact him, and he continued to live a very happy life. I hope that I have made my point clear here. I'm not talking about whether the story was good or bad. My main concern is that I have provided an end to it, right? And my end was wherein all the thoughts all the content was, completed, conjectured on one theme, and the theme was that he continued living a happy life. Full stop. Wherein I will have that feel of putting the full stop, it means that is my end, right? So, if you'll do for a time being, gradually your thoughts will not ramble, right? Your thoughts will start taking shape, right? In that way, you will also bring the clarity to your spoken English as well. Because many a times it happens that we plan something, but we ended up saying something else. So, that path is all about when our thoughts ramble, when our thoughts, do not get that direction, how to be well expressed. So, this problem will also be improved when we will start writing. If we want to write it 50 words, no harm. Write 50 words. Ask them to write 50 words only, but the condition is that you will always and always provide an end to it. Right? If you are writing an article, end it with a line. Now the situation is under control, that we all are looking forward to it. That one sentence will give you the habit of mastering your thoughts. You will not ramble further. You will not be diverted. Okay, so writing, and that particular trick worked for me, and I'm quite sure that it will work for the students and for my fellow teachers as well. Now that whatever I write it, that I always make myself sure that I will write it with an end. Okay, now the power of words. What will happen by, because we are living into this technology laden world, right? Everything whatever we are writing, we are just writing it on our laptop. So you might have observed that because of that we have that certain option, that auto correction, our spellings, right? The capacity with our spellings has become so poor that most of the time that we don't get the right spellings. Why it is happening? Because of working on that mobile. So always make sure, ask them to write something, right, on the paper, right? So this way their spellings will also be improved, and their communication will be, because gradually they'll understand, okay, yesterday I made the mistake there, and if I will be writing today, I'll not be making that mistake here only. So in that way the mind will be focused, right? Storytelling, ask them to give them the story, and gradually they'll understand. These are the byproducts, I would say. Grammar and mechanics, they'll understand the grammars, they'll understand the sentence structure. Automatically their vocabulary will be built up, right? Style and voice, they will understand that how particular so and so emotions are to be written, for how to use active passives, and where to use direct speech if I mean to put the exact words of the speaker. So this is how that I'll be writing the direct speech. But if I have to convert these words into my own way, so I'll be using the indirect words, where to put adjective, where to put conjunction, where to put exclamatory marks. So they'll understand when they'll write it, and when they'll write it on paper, not on screen. Because we, screen, that we have that certain options auto correction, so we end up auto correcting them. So this way, target practices, right, will not be doing writing skills. How are we going to improve? Another, we are circling back to the reading skill. The more you read, the better clarity you'll have to your writing skill. Because when you'll read the structure written by somebody else, your mind will, have the attention on that structure, and you are going to replicate those structure into your own writing skills. Especially newspaper, why I'm saying newspaper, I'll tell you the reason to it. I wanted to write for the newspaper, right? So I was just Googling it, right? And I was just browsing that what are the requirements, right, for writing in a newspaper. The first thing that I found out, it was that first of all, you need to be acquainted the kind of language that particular newspaper provides. Like for an example, because since I am in India, you must be knowing it. That's international. Like take an example of Times of India or the Hindu. Hindu is very scholarly newspaper, right? Rashmi ma'am would agree to it. I don't know whether the Times of India is in Sri Lanka or Nepal, but if you see the language of different papers in your countries, you will find the difference, right, among them, right? Like for an example, in India there is Hindu is a scholarly newspaper, and the writing, the English skills, the word, the vocabulary, the construction, the structure is so amazing, right? So it's for the above label. But on the contrary, if I'll talk about the Times of India, Times of India provides a very basic English, for a colloquial English, the kind of English that we speak in a day-to-day life, right? We speak in interview. So ask your children to read. They asked me to read the newspaper since I wanted to write for the Times of India. So nowadays I'm reading the Times of India only, and that what I could gather that Times of India is in colloquial language, into the day-to-day language, right? Maintain a writing, encourage them to write a diary, and that to write regularly with good night, right? If they don't want to write, because few minute back that I said it, that give them make them understand the importance of end. Now you ask them, okay, you don't want to write lengthy story, don't write it, at least write a diary for you, right? Whatever you have done the entire day, right, before going to the bed, write it, and always say good night to your diary. Okay, diary, good night, have a sweet dreams. That will also work, right? Get a pen pal. This thing can be worked upon. For an example, that you all are living into Sri Lanka and that I am living in India. So though now the credit goes to the communication development and the technology, that nowadays we don't need the letters, that we can simply make a call. But that's become obsolete, wherein that we can have a pen friend in other countries, that we can keep writing, but it's not working anymore. Write to complete irrespective of the word length. That is my favorite. Acquire a good spatial emotional word bank. For an example, ask your children to make a word bank. Word bank, for an example, give them today, you have to give me 10 words when you are happy. How are you going to use your happiness into word? So we'll say, pleasant, ecstatic, and good. They will use that word. And supremely happy, they'll put adjective to it. This way, every day, irrespective of, rather than giving so many questions of the same chapters, give them that assignment. Okay, today you have to provide me 10 words showing the emotion sadness, showing the emotions, no exclamation, surprise, happy, sad, traumatized, stressed. So that way their word bank will be increased. They will never understand, because you know what happens if we'll ask them directly, okay, today you have to work upon your word bank, right? And you have to remember, they'll not be doing it. But if you say, change the words, change the communication, and the result will automatically be changed. Okay, you can ask that whatever the chapter was all about, suppose the character was John. Why John was happy, right? Tell me. And replace that happy word 10 times with 10 different words. So either they will ask from their parents, either they will Google it out themselves, or they will use the dictionary, whatever way they are using, but they are working. It means, and that exercise will also be interested to them. They'll not find it boring. Okay. Now, journaling, essay writing, creative prompts, right? Nowadays, this world belongs to the creators, content creators. When I say content creators, it means, nowadays the children, they are earning their pocket money by writing an essay, right, of 500 words, of 1000 words, because they are paid, right, as per the words. There are different platforms where the children are paid. Like for an example, if a website can pay them 50 paisa per word or 1 rupees per word, depending upon these sites. So, if they are good creator, they are good speaker, they are good listener, automatically all the things are worked upon. So creative prompts, they can create, small stories and the prompts, right? Peer review, right? They can do the peer review workshops. You can organize it into your schools as well, wherein that, you are giving the assignment to write something to the class, like for an example, you are giving the writing assignment to the sixth class, right? And you are now the sixth class writing will be judged by the seventh class students, and now you'll see that whatever mistake they are finding it, whatever good they are just talking about, that way they'll understand that foster, this will also foster collaborative learning, right? And communication as well, the well communication, because this is how that they'll be putting forward the feedbacks. Now let's talk about the speaking skills, because ultimately that whatever we speak matters a lot. If we are just working on listening skill, because ultimately we have to replicate it through the speaking skill. If we are reading, we are good reader, it means that we wanted to be the equally good speaker. If we are a good writer, why we are good writer? Because we wanted to express, right, through our verbal communication. So end result is the speaking. And right. And so speaking, what does speaking do to us? Interviews, it will lend up to so many good opportunities and avenues, right? The good speaker we are, the better opportunity we'll get to it. So many a time in government jobs, I don't know that how the practice is there in Sri Lanka, but in India there are so many gray government jobs wherein GD happens, group discussion happens, and most of the rejection happens on group discussion, wherein 7 to 8 candidates are seated, right? And that they are just putting forward their views on one particular topic, and it will be, the judge, that how that somebody is putting forward his views, whether the person is all quiet, whether the person is all mum, or the person is putting forward the views and just putting the extending his narratives, and on the basis of that their selection happens. Confidence, when you are a good speaker, it will boost your confidence level, because undoubtedly you will understand that here I'm standing, I can well present my views, I can well present my uh, and I can, take the attention of other as well. Because no matter how hard we try, but this is again, undisputed fact, that if we are a good speaker, we can achieve anything in everything, right? Gone are the days when manipulation was considered a wrong attribute of our personality. Nowadays manipulation is not wrong, until unless your intent is wrong behind it, right? Because manipulation is all about your navigation skill, that how well you navigate through so and so situation, how well you bring that situation into your benefit, right? So here, if you have a good speaking skills, that you are good at negotiating, you are good at negotiating through your situations, through your challenges, and through your opportunities as well. So, and now how can we do so? Right. How can we encourage that speaking practice? We can more often we can promote group discussions in our class, that whenever we are reading a chapter, whenever we are just doing something, for an example, I'm not talking about only the English language over here. If we are just doing science and we are just doing maths, right, we can just talk about what if theory, that what if it happens the other way around. So that way situation children will come up with their different theories, and their theory will be countered by some other students as well. So when that countering will happen, so it means automatically that will give birth to the group and class discussion. Another person will also come up with their own narratives. So think, pair and share. You can give, the another is you can give one common topic to the person, and you can ask both of them to bring their own views, like the way we assessment of speaking and listening. So when we do that assessment of speaking and listening, what sort of a practice that we adopt here in India? So we make the group, we make a pair, basically we make a pair of two students, right? So what happened, first one student, one student speaks about his own topic, another listens. Right. Now, once the speaker is done, the listener will ask the question based upon the topic. Right. Now, once the listener is done, now it is listener turn to be a speaker. Now the speaker, another speaker will be a listener now. So now both will happen. They will listen to each other, and they'll forward the questions. Right. So in that way, their listening skills will also be improved, and their speaking skill will also be improved. Right. The way they respond, the way they listen to each other. So that's called the assessment of speaking and listening. Right. Storytelling. You can give them a prompt. You can write the prompt on the whiteboard as well. Okay, one day you was crossing a thick forest, and suddenly you heard some noises around you. Now dash dash dash, what will happen? Now the child will make his own story. Right. When I was going through that thick forest, I could hear some very, fiery sound around me. I saw, a tiger was coming towards me. Now, in that way, whatever, the content that he or she wants to put in, he or she will create it. So just always give them the prompts wherein they can talk about some story. Ask them to use technology and media as well, right, for beautification of their stories as well, right? Like for what happens that you can give them the prompts through the images as well, right? You can show them one image, right? That suppose that image is all about a palace. Now ask them to make the story. They can make a horror story as well. Simultaneously they can make a royal story as well, where they're just talking about the royal dynasty of so and so. Right. Language, there are so many language learning apps, but I'll not recommend to it. But podcast and videos, always encourage them to watch some of the other podcast, right, whomsoever they want to ape with, because everybody has their role model. Right, I do have mine, you will have yours. So ask your students to imitate their role model, maybe if a famous cricketer, the star, right, the way he or she speaks, ask them to imitate. There is no harm in no harm in imitating the other people, right, until unless that it happens for the wrong reason. In fact, we should encourage the practice. If you are liking the person, so it means definitely there is something good with that person. So try and inculcate that goodness in you, imitate that person, because there was a time when we were not considering imitation as a good habit. Nowadays encourage your students to imitate, right, to ape. Speech recognition tools, no, we are not just going to talk about this because I'll not recommend it. Right. Filler and pausing, very very important, right? Because most of the time it happens that we are speaking about something, right? We can end up running for the words, running for the right sentences, running to fill that gap, and we just keep saying yes, like this. So we should provide them a list. For an example, like uh, I'm fumbled here, right? So now I will ask, what did I say? Can any one of you please repeat it? Okay, that was nice. So this time when I ask the question from my audience, this will buy me a time and I will reach to my advancing sentence. So just give them certain list of filling the fillers wherein they'll not use the foregons. Yes, no. So like fillers, it give them the importance of fillers, right? And fillers would always be the same. For example, give them the technique. As yes, here I would like to give you very scientific technique that how could we work upon our muscles, right? Non-native, non-English speakers. Basically, I am talking about. We all speak our own mother tongue, right? So our jaw muscles are habitual of speaking those letters, right? The way we go to the gym and we do the exercise for different parts, right? So what happens? Like for an example, for an instance, if we are I'm just doing the exercise for my bicep, right? For 1 day or two, my hands will ache, right? They will pain because I have done that exercise. But if I'll keep doing that exercise after a required interval, they will not ache further. Same goes with my stomach tummy exercise. Right? If I'm doing the exercise for my tummy, right, for an instance, my tummy will ache for 1 day or 2 day. But if I am putting that into practice, it will not ache, right? And the worst part of the exercise is the thighs. When we will be doing the exercise for thighs, they'll pain like anything. But if you'll do them regularly, you will never realize that today you have done the exercise for them or you have not done. Same goes with the muscle because the entire body is made of the muscles, right? If we'll talk about the jaw muscles, our muscles are habitual of speaking the native letters, right? So the movement is according to that native letters. But when I say in English, sometimes my lips will go upward, my lips will come downwards, my lips will be wide open, right? I will have to squeeze my tongue. So that way, the movement of my muscles are different. When I'll be speaking into the different language. So now what is the practice of that? Ask them to read loudest and louder, right? So what will happen? What is the benefit of reading louder? They will have that saliva collected in their mouth, right? So they will have that for 15 to 20 days. Ask them to read for at least 10 minutes in a day, standing in front of the mirror. They will have that saliva collected. So the day they will not have that saliva, and it will happen approx 20-25 days. It means now their muscles have got the practice of speaking English alphabet. Now they'll not be fumbled. So whatever practice now they'll put into their muscles, the muscles will grab it, right? So this practice, my humble request to each one of you, kindly adopt that practice. Ask them to read louder, ask them to observe their saliva, right? If they have the saliva collected, because after 2 or 3 minutes they'll have that saliva collected for sure, right? And 25 days they'll not have that saliva anymore, because now the muscles are quite comfortable. So whatever they'll speak it so easily. So give them that practice, and give them the fillers, certain fillers, right? That they may have that Google search, that wherein they can have that filler. For example, for an instance, let me think, let me the point into the consideration, that way, right? Okay, classification request. Now, okay, debates, time challenge. Minutes, give them the prompt time. Okay, you have 10 minutes, and 10 minutes you have to create a story and you have to give an end to it. So now the gradually children will focus. This will improve their fluency as well, right? And this will improve that wherein they will start using the fillers, because when we speak fluently, we tend to look for the right words, we tend to look for the right structures. So if we have fillers in place, will not look for them anymore. So that will sound more authentic, right? So that way, would you rather challenge? And what else? Here we need to provide what if situation to our kids, right? For an instance, like you have read a story to them, and stories about David and Maria, right? Now you are done with that story. Now ask them, what if the characteristics, Maria will take up the characteristics of David, and David will impersonate Maria. Now how the story would be, right? So here, twist the situation. Would you rather, wherein you can give them the prompt, were you a prime minister? How would have you initiated that project? Were you the principal? How would you have taken the decision? That way you will get to know what exactly the internal thoughts of the child are. So that is one of the best practices of diagnosing your child's behavior, because many time it happens, unsuppressed emotions are the world most worst emotions, right? Because wherein child doesn't speak anything, you couldn't guess anything, and the emotions are piled up, and ultimately they are going to burst in what form nobody knows. So you just better give them the kind of practices wherein they are bound to, they are forced to open up. If you give them the situation, okay, uh, imagine you were your mother. How would have you treated that problem? What decision that have you taken? So now listen to that child. Okay, if I were my mother, I wouldn't have said that, right? I would have bought whatever I desire for. So that way, I would have helped my maid, right? So that way you will understand the internal emotions of that child. And even the shy child, the in my previous that class, we talked about the different sort of students in the class. These are the strategy. Even the most shy student will bound to speak when you'll give them the situation. Would you rather choose honesty or money? Now the child will speak, I would choose money, because money is everything in today's world. Money can buy you this. There is another child that you can say, I would choose honesty, because honesty, if you are honest, people will respect you. People will give you the work, and this way you will earn the money. So money will be a byproduct. But if you choose money, honesty cannot be your byproduct. So this way you will understand the children. you know See, when I said it in the beginning that we are not going to talk about language, we are just going to talk about communication skill. All the strategies that we can use in our mother tongue as well, that we can give them the debate, we can ask them to read, right? We can, give them the what if situation and would you rather situation. We can ask them to watch so and so particular TV shows, and wherein they can imitate their role model, and they can do their hero worshipping up to a limit. So it means communication, speaking is simply expressing, but communication is beautifully expressing. You are taking care of the emotions of the listener. You are taking care of the situation, in what situation what is to be said and what is not to be said. Because many a times, what is to be said is less important, rather what is not to be said. So when we'll have the understanding of all of this is called communication. So communications, we have that mastery on communication, so the world is ours. So that, and not only the world is ours, not only that we will end up having the good jobs, but we will end up creating a good and empathetic society, wherein that everybody is understood, nobody is neglected. Unsuppressed emotions are challenged. People are expressing by this faith that I'm listened to, because we have everything, but we don't have people to listen to. We have judgmental people around us, that whenever we want to say, that we always have, okay, this will be argumentative, this will be contrasted. No, I don't exactly remember a country, but there is a country which has initiated a human library, right? Wherein that you are going into that library and you are asking for a human whom you can tell your stories, you can tell your suppressed and depressed emotions, and the person, without being judgmental, will listen to the other person. So that's called the human library. So the time, just we need to make them understand that listening and then expressing, both are most important aspect of a beautiful and utopian, I will not say utopian, but an ideal situation, an ideal country, and an ideal world altogether. So I hope like these techniques will be useful for each one of us and for our kids. Now that I'm opening up for the questions, Shanika ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
Okay.
I would like to answer for the
Yes.
question, and that,
Okay. Okay,
just
first, I want to invite. Is there any questions you want to ask? Yeah. What are the specific actionable strategies you found most effective in encouraging all the students, including shy ones, to participate in regular speaking practice, ma'am?
what are the activities that I can recommend wherein the children can be regularly participating
Yeah.
in these activity? Is that question? Okay, right. Wherein you can give them the situation. Okay, today you are the doctor and you are the patient, right?
Yes.
So they'll be impersonating different role. So that you have to talk. Okay, so you have to observe that how are they talking? Are they being empathetic? Are they being emotional? Are they being professional? Are they diagnosing the problem? So that way, just give them the situation that today a doctor and patient, tomorrow a teacher and a students, the another day a parent or a grandparents. So that way you have to give them certain impersonations.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other?
Debate.
Any educators?
Yeah, excuse me,
Okay.
ma'am. Can you give me one more example to improve the writing skills?
Yes, writing skills is wherein that every day, first as I told you, the diary entry, right? Because nowadays children are a little bit reluctant about writing something, right? As a story or as an article, right? So just give them the diary entry that every day they will have to write something in the diary. And after 15 days, they will have to bring that diary, right? Either they can show the diary to their parents and the parents would signature to it, and the parent will inform to the teacher that yes, we have signed the diary for 15 days, so in that day with date. So children will be in the habit. And the another one is that wherein you can ask them to write the report writing. Some incident has taken place in school, maybe it was teachers day celebration, right? So that particular day, give them the assignment wherein they will talk about, they'll write about that whatever activities had taken place during the celebration. That today the senior students performed this, junior student performed this, right? Chief guest was so and so. So this way they will talk about the events, right? So report writing is the another factor, right? At least for 5 to 10 minutes, right? Give them the time wherein they can read something, right? Dear activities, which is called dear activities. Drop everything and read, right? Wherein for 10 minutes they will not do anything except for the reading, right? So once they will read it, they will you just open up that diary report of anything, right? Any event, they will read it and then switch it off, and after that ask them to write it. So now their subconscious mind will process it, retain it. So you can do that writing skills as well. You can ask them to make their own dictionary as well, right? Wherein, right, every month they will choose their 20 most favorite words, right? So they will all always have their self-made dictionary with them. They can put the pictures into them. So this how that you can also ask them to write something, because then when they will write it, right, they will learn it as well.
Okay, thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you, ma'am, for your explanation. That was such a meaningful, eye opening talk, ma'am. Right? We truly appreciate your sharing your knowledge and personal experience with us. Thank you for making this session special. And also, we truly appreciate the time, energy, and knowledge you shared with us. We hope to have you join us again in the future. Then, on behalf of the everyone here, thank you once again, ma'am. Rashmi Tyagi, Dr. Rashmi Tyagi, ma'am, are you
Right?
here?
Either I'll be
Yes, I am very much there. Today's session was really very important and it was well explained and it was comprehensive because all these three things, that listening, reading, and writing were included in that. So, I mean, what she has uh, told us today, she has shared with us, it was not only English literature, but it encompasses all the literatures in the world because she has told us about the different techniques. I will call them techniques only now, that how we can, listen, active listening, that we are, and that mindfulness, when we listen to others, then we are giving full attention. And then she said that about reading. So reading also, it is very important from the early stage. So that is very important. And then third is writing. So writing is as important as the other two, but still you have to have more for writing, like creativity you should have in mind, the vocabulary you should have in mind, and then the imagination should be in your mind. Like such great people like Shakespeare, and I cannot take all the names. Like in Sri Lanka also, there might be many great writers. India also, Rabindranath Tagore. Maybe Sri Lankans might be knowing about them. So that was a really wonderful lecture today. And after that, I'll say every, week we are going to have many lectures, and I will invite the Sri Lankans also, our, teachers, the wonderful teachers from Sri Lanka, to participate in that. We want to listen to you people also. It's not that you give us 1 hour time, but at least you can give
yes.
us 15 hours. So that we want from you, we are expecting from you. And we will be meeting, and it will be wonderful to meet. And then I'm going to invite you because I want to meet you all. And Mumbai is a great place in the world. I will tell you that. And I want to ask Shanika, do you have a planetarium in Colombo or in Kandy or any other place in Sri Lanka? Tell me,
Colombo, ma'am.
Shanika.
Colombo.
Colombo you have got.
Yeah.
So in Mumbai also we have got that.
Wow.
And I will like to take them to the planetarium. Maybe it is some different stories to tell. And then we have got very good museums in Mumbai. So I'll take you all there. We will learn something there. And we have Elephanta Caves in Mumbai itself. And then Ajanta Ellora is little bit away from Mumbai. If all of you can make it, they are the wonders, not included in seven wonders, but otherwise they are the wonders of the world. It is very near to Mumbai. And then we have got gliding on the beaches. Shanika, do you have the gliding on your beaches? You have got
Uh,
beautiful beaches.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So you can enjoy here also. And
Yes.
our Mumbai is also, partly surrounded by the sea. So that is going to be wonderful. And the knowledge exchange and the cultural exchange will be there. So I'm just waiting, and I can't wait when all of you will be here. So that is my, a very loving invitation to all of you. So please come to Mumbai. And every week we are going to interact the same way. Thank you so much, Shanika.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
and-
ma'am, to
And
share
all
your.
of you, and Sir also, Kamal Goda sir, who is doing all this really. He is the designer of all this. Thank you very much. And good
Thank
night.
you.
all of
Thank you, ma'am. Good night,
Good
ma'am.
Thank
night.
you, ma'am.
you.
Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.